Huh? That many years of his lifetime he had to undergo meditation. In the previous verses it is stated. So, that much in the previous chapter, I think. So, that many years he underwent tapasya, not understanding what is this darkness which is surrounding him, and what is this lotus on which he is situated, and what is this stem of this lotus, where from it is coming. So, all these things mystery to Lord Brahmaji, and not understanding what to do, and seeing all the darkness spread everywhere, he had to undergo tapasya to be able to attract the attention of the Supreme Lord. After which, the Supreme Lord Vishnu or Narayana, he appeared within the heart of Lord Brahma, and he gave him directions how to carry out the creation. And having got the direction from Krishna, it is not that Brahma also immediately everything was very smooth. He still had to undergo so much, so much anxiety, so like right now in today's verse. He was contemplating how to create all the planets. The planets were already there in the seedling form within the stem of the lotus. And Brahma was thinking now he had been given he had been tasked to carry out the service, devotional service to the Supreme Lord Vishnu, to bring out the actual manifestation of the universe and fill it with all kinds of living entities. So, now the question may come up that we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Bhagavatam is meant to convey to us the philosophy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavatam is meant to enhance our bhakti, our devotional service to Krishna. So instead of hearing the pastimes of Krishna, why are we hearing about the creation of this material universe? Okay, if it was something about the spiritual world, we could have understood that information is essential. Creation of this material universe, what connection does it have with our bhakti, with our devotional service? Why do we have to understand all this? We have to understand I am not the body, I am spirit, soul, Krishna is Supreme Lord. What is my connection with Him? What is my relationship with Him? How do I go back to Godhead? All that is fine. But why this description about the creation of this material universe? After all, material universe is temporary. It is an illusion. So we are supposed to get out of this illusion. So what is the big deal in knowing about how the material universe is created? And the Bhagavatam describes in great detail about the creation of this material universe. So what is the significance of, what is the relevance of understanding how Brahma created this whole universe? What is the relevance of this knowledge to our spiritual life? Why should we know all this? To understand this, actually, we need to step back a little. And if we go to the Upanishads, the Taittiriya Upanishad, it is stated that Bhokta Bhogyam Preritaram Chamatva Proktam Sarvamidam Trividam Brahmametat. So the Upanishads are stating that Trividam Brahmam, there are three conceptions of Brahman. Generally, the Mayavadis, they would like us to believe that there is only one Brahman. We are all, whatever you see in this material universe is illusion. You, I, all individual personalities, this is all illusion. Actually, there is only one Brahman. That's what they would like you to believe. As far as we are concerned, Vaishnavas, we understand that there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and there are the living entities. So there are two personalities, two individual personalities. One is all the conditioned living entities like all of us, the Jivatmas, conditioned or liberated. And there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is the Atma and there is the Paramatma. So understanding Brahman means there is a small Brahman which is all the Jivatmas, and there is a Supreme Brahman, Parabrahman, which is Krishna. So, understanding about Brahman is okay, but what this material world has got to do with it? So, the Shastras are saying, the Upanishads are saying, there are three conceptions of Brahman, not just two. So, what are those three conceptions? Bhogyam, Bhokta, Bhogyam, Preritaram. One is Bhokta, the living entity which has this propensity to lord it over material nature, is one conception of Brahman, is one kind of Brahman. Bhogyam, the material energy which is enjoyed by the conditioned living entity, that is another concept of Brahman, that is another kind of Brahman. And Preritaram, the controller of both of these, the Bhokta and Bhogya, the Jivatma and the material Prakriti, the controller of both of this is another conception of Brahman, that is another type of Brahman. So the Upanishads are stating there are three types of Brahman. One is the supreme Brahman or the controller, another is the living entity who tries to control others, and there is the material nature which gets controlled by the living entities. So there are three types of Brahman. Now, if we look at the same thing is further expanded in the Shvetasvatara Upanishad, which states, this statement, Bhokta Bhogyam Preritaram is from the Shvetasvatara Upanishad. The Taittiriya Upanishad expands that further to state that Yatova imani bhutani yena jatani jivanti yat prayanti abhisamvishanti tad vidijnasatva tad brahmeti. So, the Taittiriya Upanishad is stating, it's giving the definition of Brahman. What is the definition it is giving? It is saying, Yatova imani bhutani jayante. From whom, Yataha, from whom all the living entities are created, all the living entities are emanating. Yena jatani jivanti, by whom, Yena, by whom, all the living entities who are created are maintained. And yat prayanti abhisamvishanti, at the time of dissolution, whom do these living entities enter into? So all these three things, whoever is causing, tad vidijnasat, tad brahmeti, that is the supreme Brahman. So we have three kinds of Brahman. First is Bhokta Bhogyam Preritaram. There is the supreme Brahman, the Jivatma who is Brahman, and Prakriti which is controlled. Now the Taittiriya Upanishad is stating, not only is this a fact, it is also that the Prakriti and the Jivatma are created by the Supreme Brahman. So there is another distinction which is created. What is that? One is the creator or controller, the other two are created and controlled. And Shvetasvatara Upanishad further expands this and gives even more clarity on this. Because, why? Because it has to be very, very clear what is the distinction between the Jivatma and Paramatma. Unlike what the Mayavadis try to propagate, that there is only one Brahman, the Upanishads are very, very clear. So the Upanishads state that Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakhaya Samanam Vriksham Parishashva Jate Tayor Anyaha Pippalam Swadvatti Anashnan Anyo Abhichagasiti. So the Shvetasvatara Upanishad is stating there are two birds sitting on a tree, Dva Suparna. And out of them, one is Pippalam Swadvatti, one is eating the fruits of the tree, which are sometimes sweet, sometimes bitter. And Anashtan Anyo Abhichagasiti, there is another bird who is seated on the same tree. He is not eating the fruits of the tree. He is watching what the other bird is doing. He is waiting. When will this other bird who is tasting all the fruits will turn towards me? So this is a metaphorical expression by the Upanishads to explain that the tree is compared to the body. The body is like a tree. And the two birds sitting within the tree are the Atma and the Paramatma. The Atma is going on eating the fruits of his actions, which is Papa Karma and Punya Karma. So the sweet fruit is the enjoyment that he gets on account of the Punya Karma he does, the pious activities he does, and the distresses that he has to undergo on account of the papa karma or sinful reaction are the bitter fruits that he has to eat. And the Paramatma is not having to undergo the enjoyment and distress within this material world. Anashnan, he is not eating the fruits of actions. He is simply witnessing what this Jivatma is doing. Samane vriksho purusho nimagno anishya shochati mukhyamanaha. And this living entity who is going on eating the fruits of the tree is shochati. He is constantly undergoing lamentation. Why? Because anishaya, because he does not recognize the supreme controller. So the Upanishad is stating anyaha, the word anyaha is used, meaning one bird is sitting on the tree, the other bird is going on eating the fruits of the tree. So there are two birds. Anyaha means another one. So one of them is eating the fruits of the tree and it is undergoing lamentation, anishaya, because he does not know who is his controller, who is his creator. Jushtam yada pashyati anyam isham. When that living entity who is suffering and on account of all the activities he is doing within this material universe, when he looks at the other bird, anyaha, anyam yada pashyati, when he looks at the other bird, jushtam yada pashyati anyamisham asya mahimanamiti vita shokaha. When he becomes aware that there is another living entity, that is the other bird that is there, and he is the Supreme Lord and Supreme Controller, and this whatever creation I am seeing is emanating from him, then Vita Shokaha, he becomes free from all lamentation. Chandamsi yajnaha kratavo vratani bhutam bhavyam yaccha veda vadanti yasman mai srijate vishwametat tasmin sanyo maya sanniruddha. So the Shvetashvatara Upanishad is further stating, further clarifying that whatever is there within this universe, whatever is there, yajnaha, kratavaha, vratani, chandamsi, whatever is there in the Vedas, whatever yajnas are there, whatever sacrifices are there, whatever vratas are there, whatever vows are mentioned in the Vedic scriptures, whatever is mentioned in the Vedas, and whatever has happened in the past, bhutam, bhavyam, and whatever is going to happen in the future, everything is under the control of this one bird, who is the Paramatma. And that Paramatma, who is the source of the entire Vedas, who is the source of the whatever has come in the past and whatever is going to come in the future, everything is going to emanate from only one person, and that person, Mayi Srijate Vishwametat, that person is Mayi. He is the possessor of the Maya energy by which Srijate Vishwametat, by which he creates this whole material universe. And Anyaha Mayaya Sanniruddha, the other living entity who is suffering on account of his activities within this material world, who is tasting the fruits of the tree and who is under lamentation because of not recognizing the supremacy of the Supreme Lord, that bird, Mayaya Sanniruddha, he is controlled by the Maya material nature. He is captured by the material nature. Whereas the other bird, the Paramatma, he is Mayi, he is the possessor of that Maya energy and he is the creator of this material universe. Mayam tu prakritim vidyan. What is this Maya you are talking about? Mayi, Maya, Mayinam, all these things you are talking about. Mayam tu prakritim vidyan. Maya is nothing but this material prakriti, material nature. Mayam tu prakritim vidyam, Mayinam tu Maheshwaram. And the person who is the possessor of this Maya energy, who is the controller of this Maya energy, he is the Maheshwara, he is the supreme controller, he is the supreme Lord, he is the Paramatma. So what is the relationship between this one bird, who is the Atma, who is being controlled by Maya, and the Paramatma, who is the source of this Maya, who is the creator of this material universe? Yasyavaya bhutani. Yasya avayava bhutani, all these living entities are part and parcel of that Supreme Lord who creates this material universe and who is the controller of the Maya energy. Yasyavaya bhutani, and these living entities, they are vyaptam sarvamidam jagat, and these living entities who are created by that Supreme Paramatma, they are sarvamidam vyaptam, they are spread everywhere throughout the universe. So you see, the same, bhokta bhogyam preritaram, there are three things, three conceptions of Brahman. There is one Jivatma who is under the control of Prakriti, then there is Prakriti itself whom the living entity is trying to enjoy, and there is a Paramatma who is the controller of both. So whether you take the Taittiriya Upanishad or the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, both are very clear, extremely clear, that there is one person who is the controller, another person who is the controlled, and there is the energy. There are three things, material energy. There are three things. So, and if you look at the Bhagavad Gita is called Gita Upanishad. It is called the essence of the Upanishads. So what does the Bhagavad Gita state? In the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna brings out the same concept of these three concepts of Brahman. What does Krishna say? Bhumi rapo vayuhu analo kham mano buddhirevacha ahankara ityam me bhinna prakriti rashtadha. Krishna says this material prakriti, material nature, which is composed of earth, water, fire, air and space, and which is composed of intelligence, mind, false ego, all these things, these 8 elements are part of his prakriti. And then apareyam tu it was tanyam prakritim viddhi me param jiva bhutam yayedam dharyate jagat. He says there is another higher nature of mind which makes up the living entities. So there is prakriti, there is jivatma. And then in the 6th verse after that, Krishna says that Yetadyonini bhutani sarvani tu upadharaya aham krishnasya jagataha prabhavaha prayastatha. Krishna says that I am the source of both the material and the spiritual, I'll read out the translation, of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world. Know for certain that I am both its origin and dissolution. So you see, Bhagavad Gita is also simply, Krishna is restating whatever is already in the Upanishads, but in very simple, straightforward language. Why? Because Krishna is giving the essence of the Vedic scriptures. So if we simply read the Bhagavad Gita, we are actually reading the essence of the Upanishads. We don't have to go through the Upanishads again. Same thing which is stated, that there are 3 kinds of Brahman. One is the Jivatma, one is Prakriti, whom the Jivatma is trying to enjoy, and there is another person who has created. Mayi srijate vishwametad. This material universe is created by one of the 2 birds. One of the 2 birds who is the Paramatma. And Krishna is saying here that aham krishnasya jagatah prabhavaha pralayas. All that is spiritual and material that we see in this material world, Krishna is saying, I am the creator of both. So you see, what the Upanishads are also stating, yato va imani bhutani jayante. From whom are the living entities coming? And yena jatani jivanti, and they are maintained by whom? And yat pravishanti abhisamvishanti, whom they enter after dissolution. That is Brahman. And Krishna is saying, who is that Brahman? Krishna is saying, I am that Brahman, for aham krishnasya jagatah prabhava pralayas tatha. Krishna is the creator, Krishna is the dissolver, he is the destroyer. And also Krishna later in the Bhagavad Gita says that mama ivamso jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana, all the living entities are my part and parcel. Same thing the Upanishads are stating, yasyavaya bhutani. So the Upanishads are giving an indirect way of approaching the Supreme Lord, whereas the Bhagavad Gita is directly proclaiming who is that Supreme Brahman. So now, when we look at all these things, what we understand is, according to the Upanishads, there is the definition of 3 kinds of Brahman, and it is also talking about one Brahman who is supreme amongst all these things. And the Vedanta Sutra, which is the essence of all the Vedic knowledge, of all the Upanishads, what does it say? It says, Athato Brahma Jijnasa. Now that we have got the human form of life, we have to inquire into Brahman. Now, which Brahman should you inquire into? Because Trividam Brahmametan, there are three kinds of Brahman. So, the next verse of the Vedanta Sutra, what does it say? Yato va imani bhutani. So, what does it say? That means that Brahman which you have to inquire about is the Brahman from whom all the living entities have emanated. And who is that person from whom everything is emanating? Krishna is saying, Aham Krishnasya Jagataha Prabhavaha Pralayastata. Krishna is that person. So, to understand the Supreme Brahman, to understand who is the absolute truth, we have to first understand who creates this material universe, who creates all the living entities. Then only we can understand who is the absolute truth. We cannot understand the absolute truth without understanding who has created this material universe. And to understand who has created this material universe, we have to understand how it is created, because there are so many people involved. It is not just one person. Imagine tomorrow the temple starts, construction starts coming up on the site yesterday where we had the Bhumi Puja, say 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line. When you go to the site, you will see hundreds of workers working there. There will be so many labor who are working there, who are shifting all the construction material. Somebody is putting bricks, somebody is putting concrete. And for all of them, there will be one head who will be a mason. And there will be so many labor working under him. And there will be many masons. And above the mason, there will be a foreman or a supervisor. Above a few supervisors, there will be one engineer. And above the engineer, there will be a chief man who will be supervising. There will be some manager. And above him, there will be one devotee who will be overseeing all these things. And above that will be the temple president. Satyagor Prabhu will be sitting there. So now if you go to the site and try to figure out who is building this temple, you will think so many people, all this labor, together they are building this temple. Actually, labor is building, but they are not the people who are really building the temple. Right? Then you try to see, you go and ask that labor, you are building this temple. Oh, so nice, such a big temple you are building. What will you? I am just a simple labor. The mason is there, no? Whatever he is telling, I am doing. So you go to the mason and tell him, oh, mason, Mistri, what a beautiful temple you are building. He'll tell, Hare Baba, I am not building anything. I am just following the instruction of my supervisor. Now you go to the supervisor and you praise him. Supervisor, is building such a nice temple. What will he say? I am just following instructions. The engineer, whatever is telling, I am doing. Today I am in this project. Tomorrow I don't know whether I will be here or not. So then you go to the engineer, like that you keep going. Finally you will come to the president. Oh, president is building. So then you go to Satyagor Prabhu and tell him, Prabhu, such a wonderful temple you are building. What will he tell? Tell, I am not doing anything, Baba. Prabhupada is doing. So finally Prabhupada you go. So you see how actually there are so many people involved in the construction of one simple small temple, which is in one small city, in one small country, within one small planet, within one small universe. This Brahmanda is the smallest of all the Brahmandas, which is part of a huge network of universes within this whole material cosmic manifestation. So for that itself, so many people are involved. Imagine for the creation of the universe, how many people will be involved. There is Durga, there is Brahma, there is Shiva, there are so many Prajapatis. If you try to figure out who is the creator, you will get bewildered. So therefore, you have to understand how the creation happens, so that, like Prabhupada is explaining, Brahma is creating this manifestation. It is called Visarga, because in the seedling form, the universe has already been created, which is called Sarga. Sarga has already happened. Unless Sarga has happened, Visarga cannot happen. So, unless we understand the details of how the creation is happening, we can get easily misled or confused about who is the actual creator. Somebody will tell Durga is the creator, somebody will tell Brahma is the creator, somebody will take Shiva's name, somebody will take some other Devata's name. Actually, all of them are involved. They all have a role to play in the matter of the creation of the whole universe. But ultimately, who is giving the seed? Without that seed, none of these people can create. And all these personalities are also created from somebody. They are also coming from someone. They are also not fully independent. So therefore, if we to understand the position of Krishna as the supreme absolute truth, it is necessary to know the process of creation. And so therefore, the Bhagavatam in great detail explains about the process of creation. Now, although the process of creation is necessary to understand the absolute truth, and that the Vedanta Sutras, Upanishads, they are all directed towards that only. Yato va imani bhutani jayante. The Vedanta Sutras are very clear. Which kind of Brahman are we targeting to know about? That Brahman who is the creator of this whole universe. So to understand by reading the Upanishads and studying the Vedanta Sutras, the understanding we can get is of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the creator of this material universe. This is only one aspect of the Supreme Absolute Truth. When we speak of Brahman, Athato Brahma Jijnasa and Yato va imani bhutani jayante, it is speaking about the material aspect of Krishna. Spiritual aspect is not dealt with in the Upanishads and the Brahma Sutras, Vedanta Sutras. By studying the Vedanta Sutras and Upanishads, one can understand the material aspect of Krishna. Because Yato va imani bhutani jayante, the creation of this material universe, that's an aspect of Krishna's material energy. Now there is aparayam tuitas anyam prakritim viddhi me param. There is another spiritual energy of Krishna that is not dealt with in the Upanishads and the Vedanta Sutras. Therefore, the knowledge covered in the Vedanta Sutras and the Upanishads is only second class knowledge. Third class knowledge is in the Karmakanda portion of the Vedas, about how to enjoy all the fruits of one's actions, how to go to Swarga, how to enjoy within this material universe, following the path of Dharma, Artha, Kama. This is all third class knowledge. If you study the Upanishads and the Vedanta Sutras, second class knowledge. If you want first class knowledge, knowledge of the spiritual world, what are the activities of the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world, then you have to come to Srimad Bhagavatam. So Bhagavatam, what is the culmination of the Vedanta Sutra? Vedanta Sutra says Athato Brahma Jijnasa. The goal of the Vedanta Sutra is to know who is that Brahman, who is Yato va imani bhutani jayante, who creates this material universe. If you understand that, then you have reached the culmination of Vedanta, study of the Vedanta Sutra and Upanishads. But the Bhagavatam is dealing with knowledge in the third canto itself. And further, there are 9 more cantos. So you see, the knowledge given in the Bhagavatam is the ultimate knowledge which cannot be obtained even by study of the Vedanta Sutras and by study of the Upanishads. And therefore, Vidya Bhagavata Vadhi. If we study the Bhagavatam, that is the real ultimate study of the Vedic knowledge. You cannot have any higher knowledge than the Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore, the Bhagavatam describes the process of creation, how Brahma actually created, to give us a clear picture of how Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and He is the source of this entire material universe, all the living entities and everything that is there, material as well as spiritual within this creation, is created by Him, and therefore that Supreme Lord, Krishna, is the actual absolute truth, from whom everything is emanating. So that's what we can understand from today's verse. I'll stop here. If anybody has any question or comment, we can discuss. Anybody? So we'll stop here then. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
హరే కృష్ణ గోల్డెన్ టెంపుల్ వారి మరో అపురూప కానుక హరే కృష్ణవాణి ఆధ్యాత్మిక మాసపత్రిక. ఇప్పుడు మొబైల్ యాప్ ద్వారా కూడా సులభంగా పత్రికలు చదువుకునే సౌకర్యం, వార్షిక సభ్యత్వం, భగవద్గీత, భాగవత ప్రవచనాలు, స్ఫూర్తి సందేశాలు, ఇంకా మరెన్నో సదుపాయాలతో హరే కృష్ణవాణి మొబైల్ యాప్ నేడే డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకోండి. మరిన్ని వివరాల కోసం కాల్ చేయండి 9133